Hello, namaste. Welcome to Light Laughter and Lattes. My name is Geri Habstritt. I'm a medical intuitive, Avesa quantum healer, and your host for Light Laughter and Lattes. So, welcome everyone. YouTube, Facebook, Spotify later. Glad you're here. This is a big, eventful week. There is a lot happening with up levels, retrogrades, meteor showers. Oh my, lots going on. So, hopefully you're taking a little time out and re-energizing yourself, relaxing, and doing the best you can with this moment to receive the cosmic bombardment that we are receiving. Today is a 7 in ascended numerology, and 7 is all about mastery. So if you have been challenged today, your mastery is being asked to, can you maneuver this? Can you go through this? How are you walking through it? I know I've had a bit of a day with electronics. I had so many things going wrong that I just had to laugh at it. And so I'm going to quickly show you all the calendar so you get an idea. Now, this is not my calendar. My spiritual teacher, Master Lady Kira Ra, puts these out. She ensouls these. She's been doing it for the last 4 years. They're spot on. Not only does she ensoul the events that are happening, but the pictures. The pictures are key to what's going on energetically. And there's a Merkaba right in the center of this. And if you take a look at today, which is the 14th, we are right in the middle of a peak up level and a meteor shower, with another meteor shower on the other side of us tomorrow. And then look at the rest of the week. All of those pyramids, they are meteor showers that you can either be lifted up with, or you can literally run straight into them. So definitely today, the 14th, would be a day of mastery. So if you're being challenged right now, be easy on yourself. Eat lightly, relax as much as you can, because this is all cosmic energy that we are being gifted with to help us lift more and more and more. So I'm going to put that back in the background. Hopefully I can do that. Good. I did it. Okay, so because of this heightened energy and the way things are, many people are being triggered with all sorts of things as polarity gets more polarizing. As the energy is heightened, people are, reacting as opposed to responding. And lots of traumas are being either triggered or re-triggered. And this is a pattern that I've been noticing with people in the awakened community. So I thought this would be a timely topic to address right now. And I have my guest, Moon Tucker, who just went through an experience, a trigger of an experience, trauma that happened some time ago. It was re-triggered again. And I too had a similar experience, and we both walked through this in different ways. And I thought it would be timely to share how we both went through this, and to give you all maybe some tips and ideas if you are being confronted with old experiences coming up again. And we are in a retrograde, so that's what usually happens. We're being asked to resolve, relook, bring a new way of experiencing an old event or old emotion or old relationship. So I'm going to invite in my friend, and she is also a healing guide and podcast host, Moon Tucker. Hi, Moon. Welcome.
Hi, Geri. It's an honor to be here.
Great. Glad to have you. So let's get right to this whole trauma experience. This was just happened to you within the last couple of weeks, that you had an experience where you had old traumas that you thought you had healed. I mean, you're a healing guide, so I know you did work on these things, but yet it still came up again, like, okay, here I am again. What are you going to do with me this time, right? So before we get into the re-triggering, can you give us all a little background of where this trauma came from, or how it started?
Yeah, I got most of my life was in military service, either in the Air Force or working for the Department of Defense, specifically the Army and Corps of Engineers separately. And because of my position, I was one of the first people on scene of suicides and murders and trauma accidents on a military installation. And so I've seen gore, I've seen death, I've seen some of the worst that people can do to people. And in that environment and in the environment that I grew up I grew up on a ranch. We were very poor. If we didn't work, we didn't eat, which meant life was work. And so we raised our own cattle and pigs. And so, butchering animals was something that was absolutely just normal. They weren't pets. They didn't have souls. They were functional to eat. So I've grown up around a lot of blood, and I don't care who you are and what your upbringing is. It takes a hardening of the heart and a desensitizing of your ability to flow and interact and relate with your emotions when you are put in a situation where killing is involved. And so I got called to, well, before I tell you, I got called to jury duty. For those that don't know, I'm an amputee because I wrecked my motorcycle and watched as my arm got ground off. And so I experienced that whole bloody scene. And that was kind of the catalyst that allowed me to really go deep into some of this healing and this trauma work. And I've spent 14 years really working and studying how does emotion and thoughts and our reality, what is the correlation between all of those things, and what can I do once I stopped looking outside of myself for the answers and solutions and salvation, and the salves and the healing, and went inside into my inner world where everything is. That's when I really started processing through this trauma. And I simply don't watch things that have gore. I don't put that back into the record player of my mind and my body. It just doesn't do anything for me. One of the things that I like to ask myself is, what value are my thoughts adding? What is this thought giving to me? How does it behave? How's it acting? And so a couple of weeks ago, when I got called into jury duty, I sat there and I was in a room of 100 people, and there was a gentleman up front and lawyers and the judge and all of that. And they started asking questions. Do you know any of these people up front here? Do you know any of the attorneys? Do you know the defendant? And question came along, are you going to be okay if there are photos of blood and gory scenes? And I immediately had a visceral, like even right now, it's because they had told a little bit about the backstory. So a young woman was obviously murdered, or was murdered, maybe not by that person, but was murdered. And when that question came about, I heard my mind say, of course I can be objective. Of course I can look at the evidence presented to me and look at it from an observer standpoint. And of course, I'm going to bring in my intuition and my inner knowing. As my friend Tana said, that was one of the responses that she gave. I'm going to use my intuition and my inner knowing. I'm going to be objective. And so I'm having this conversation in my head. And at the same time, my body is just screaming. I started trembling. And I thought, I need to stop thinking. And I raised my hand. And so there were about 4 of us there. And they gave their reason for their objection to remaining on the potential jury. And when the judge asked what my objection was, and I raised up my arm and I said, I've had enough. I've had enough of trauma and blood and gore and violence. And he dismissed me. And it was that hard, and it was that simple, because the mind wants to argue. Right? The mind really wanted to stay on that throne of my body and say, we can do this. Come on, press that down. Take some deep breaths. Okay, you know all the exercises to calm your central nervous system. You can control this. Be the master. And that was just crap. Because what my body, where my wisdom was telling me, we can't be objective. You have refined and honed your inner world to the point where you're no longer traumatizing myself, because all of the violence that I had experienced in the first 41 years of my life, somebody else did that to me. I put that in the situation. I had that job. I went to those scenes. I did these things. Now, if I had chosen to tough it up and, be all stoic and do my practices and calm myself down and stay and possibly get selected for that jury, my body would have been put through trauma after trauma by my own doing, because I didn't stand up for myself. And so that practice of becoming really, really sensitive to what feels good, and if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. I had the choice then. It didn't feel good. And there was nothing that could keep me in that room. And there was a little bit of shame. I was like, that my brain was like, don't you dare raise your hand, you big pussy. That voice is still alive in there, right? I could hear my grandfather. I could hear my NCOs. I could hear all of that,
Right.
And that is such a prevalent message in our society. Violence is so normal. And if you're one that watches the news or listens to the radio, you get bombarded with violence every day. And you may not even know how damaging that is to your body, your psyche, your hormones, your chemistry. It's absolutely horrid. And humanity has come to a point in its own history where we can no longer afford to not get really, really clear on what feels good, and we no longer can afford to avoid purifying our inner world. We're here to cleanse our environment, and that all starts inside. And I think that the the quickest and the most effective, and really the only way you can do that, is to start working on your emotional mastery. And mastery starts with that first step where you fall. That first step where you fall, and then you get back up, and then you fall and you skin your knee and you get back up. And that's that practice of, what am I feeling right now? My chest is tight. Okay. Why? Where's it tight? What was I thinking about? All right, I was thinking about that thing. Okay, so I'm just going to take a deep breath right now. And then 10 seconds later down the road, I'm thinking about that thing again. And if we catch ourselves looping back to that negative thought, we're taught to really give ourselves a good talking to. Look, you can't even do that. Who do you think you are? Geez, you can't even keep your thoughts straight. You're just such a failure. I can't meditate. I can't be present. I can't. I can't. And so becoming a master at controlling your own emotions and purifying your inner world starts with, okay, I don't know how to do this, but I know how to start, and I know how to restart, and I know how to do 1 second of pausing, and then 2 seconds of pausing, and then 3. And you're just going to make it a daily practice, so that when those big moments come and you have the ability to go into your observer mode and look and say, this is a situation that's not going to get better. My body is speaking, and I'm going to listen, because this is where all of our higher intelligence is. And this brain is actually the smallest focal point of human consciousness. It has the least capacity of all consciousness that's in our body. And so it's really time to flip the script and flip the tables on what we've been thinking with.
Yeah, and the brain likes to think it's the master of our whole experience, the master of consciousness, the body, and everything, but it's not. So to remember that our brain is meant to be our servant, not the other way around.
And look at how even our education system, our science system, our psychological system, they have all labeled the higher point of consciousness and intelligence of a human as a subconscious. This is the conscious mind, and this is below that and subconscious, which is absolutely opposite. If you look at us, we're like a funnel. The smallest point of consciousness, this is really the subconsciousness, this brain right here, and our body and our soul, that's where our true intelligence is. So it's really even just learning that. I don't think a lot of people know that. I think that they think that the body is this unconscious, subconscious thing that they can't access, they can't understand, they can't control, they can't relate with. And that's so not true.
Right. The one thing I think that most people don't understand is that our physical bodies are of this earth, And they are addicted to the adrenaline rush created through the traumas and the dramas. And it's called the habit of the habit of the pain of the pain, where we keep recreating these experiences because the body wants the adrenaline created from the addiction. And so that's why the shoot 'em up movies, that's why years ago the soap operas, right? And now the reality TV shows. And the body likes that. I remember years back hearing from my teacher, she said to me, "You're addicted to pain." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I don't like this experience I'm going through. I hate it, you know?" She said, "No, you're addicted to pain." And I was in this 7-year long, horrible divorce where there was a lot of harassment, a lot of emotional abuse, mental abuse. And I kept repeating experiences of going back to court through this. And I was hearing in my dream state, you're still addicted to the adrenaline rush of the pain. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Well, then I got an affidavit that came to me. And as soon as it came, I felt the adrenaline rush pour through my body. And I went, oh my goodness, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies literally betray us. Our bodies have their own fears, their own consciousness. So even if our mind is creating and visualizing one experience and our consciousness is in another place, and we're going right to the 5 medicines where we're physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and consciousness in the middle. And we have to have them all balanced. So a key to this experience is to get the body to be addicted to joy as opposed to the drama or the trauma. And the joy creates the same adrenaline rush. It's just a different experience. You know, fear and joy both can feel the same in the body. Like if you're getting ready to give a speech or something like that, or an excitement, the adrenaline rush is all the same. So it's what I love that you did is you said enough. And that's one of the keys to ending it is like you're literally in that moment, you commanded your body is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Enough. We're not doing this anymore. And the judge said, okay, I'm going to let you go.
Yeah.
Goodbye. You don't have to do this.
Yeah, and it takes me back to when I first started learning about nutrition. And I was working with a coach and a guide, and I was like, oh God, I just, I don't eat a lot of vegetables. No, I don't like that. And I was listing off the things that I don't like. And I was like, my body just really doesn't like that. And he said, no, your body doesn't like or dislike. Your body craves what you feed it. Your body just craves. It's neutral. It just craves what you feed it. You develop a pathway and a repetition and a cycle, and it's on a clock, and it's like, all right, this has happened. This is the next thing that happened. This is the next thing that happens. People wake up and they put their feet on the ground and they're thinking about the fight that they had with their coworker 6 months ago, and the fight that they had with their ex-husband 7 years ago, and the project that they hate and the job that they hate, and they turn on the news and they turn on the radio with the music that's talking about how we all should be afraid of each other and hate each other, and you're worse than I am and I'm better than you, and this country's killing that person and this person hates that person. And you'll be shocked if you try to stop that and you get up one morning and you put your feet on the floor and you don't turn on the radio and you don't turn on the TV. Your mind is going to start nagging you like a crazy chimpanzee because it has a pattern. You have fed it this pattern and it knows the pathway. And so there's that expectation. And so breaking that pattern and feeding your body something different takes a while, but it's amazing what our bodies can adjust to. It's amazing what our bodies can crave. It's amazing that you can go from putting your feet on the floor and holding back tears because you hate your life so much to putting your feet on the floor and just feeling the gratitude of being alive.
Yes.
And if somebody would have told me I could get there years ago, I would have told them they're crazy and, go sit back up on your mountains in the Himalayas. But it took years and years of discipline, and damn it, I'm worth it. And so are you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I had a similar, I shouldn't say similar, but I walked into an experience that could have been a repeat of a trauma, but I had an awareness. And that is actually part of one of the keys is being able to lift above and witness what's happening. And it takes some practice doing this.
Mhm.
But just a couple weeks ago, my oldest son got married. So I was heading back into the situation that I had shared earlier with the divorce and the family. And I was basically, it was a witch burning when I left my town. I mean,
Mhm.
I was, chased, pretty much chased out for being who I was. And these were people I really loved and a family that I really loved. And here I am. I'm going to head back now, and this is for a wedding for our son. And so there was a lot of nerves around this. I know that I've done years of work on it, but I don't know how much is in me yet or what's going to be triggered, what's still alive, and how I'm going to be able to handle it. So the night before the groom's dinner, my children and I and my parents, and some of their friends, we all went out for dinner. And I had just been up with a family member who has a daughter who can see auras. And she was just starting to talk about it. Well, they gave her a medical explanation what this is. The medical word has an explanation for it, and it's considered, probably a problem. And my brother and I were laughing, like, well, no, that's clairvoyance. It's a gift, right? And so I was sharing at the dinner table. I was just getting ready to share this, and I felt my body feel a slight bit of fear of me sharing a real truth to me in front of everyone that was there. And I started to share this thing about the cousin being able to see the auras. And immediately I saw my daughter across the table roll her eyes as she looked at her boyfriend. And I thought, okay, what is going on here? Why is she rolling her eyes when I'm sharing this truth? And this isn't typically her. She usually engages in a conversation like this with me. And so, what happened in that moment that made her flip and go to the other side of where she's usually at?
Yeah.
And this had me really baffled. And the next day, I went, oh my gosh, I had witnessed my body go into this moment feeling I am not safe.
Mm.
And she immediately reflected the me not feeling safe in my being. So she mocked my truth.
Mm.
And it wasn't that I visualized how this experience was going to be. I was confident, but it was my body going into the I am not safe.
Yeah.
And once I was clear on this and I knew it, I'm like, I got it. So what I did was found my brother, who I feel extremely safe in sharing my truth with. And I made him stand by my side. I said, if you see me alone somewhere, can you please come beside me? And so he did that. He was by my side, and I could be and say and do whatever I wanted, as long as I had someone there that supported me in my truth.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I had an amazing evening, but it was so empowering knowing, okay, that's what was doing that all these years.
Well,
All
and Jerry,
these
you're hitting on something that's really, really critical. And it's essential for us to be surrounded with resonant energies
exactly.
because we individually aren't enough right now. Like my battery pack isn't enough to go into a room of 100 people and see bloody, gory things and hear
Right.
details like that and have my body just be okay with it.
And you
It's
don't need to. You
no,
don't need
and
to
I
ever
don't
do that
need to.
again.
Yeah, and I don't need to go to family reunions where 98% of the people don't like me. I don't need to go to events where people are doing things and talking about things that don't feel too good to me. I don't need to hang out with old friends that I just don't resonate with out of some obscure, weird, screwed up thing of loyalty. Well, they've been my friends for 20, 30 years. I know I'll just stick by them. No, we don't have the wiggle room for that anymore.
Right.
And we're so used to being in this chronic state of pain and fear and shame and guilt and anger that it's really hard to learn the subtleties. But when you do learn the subtleties of your emotions, then, like you can come from a place of wisdom and go, listen, I have to be in this for a situational experience. I have to be in this. Who can I get and align my energies with? Who's resonant? Where we can help each other be strong. And that's what's happening right now in the earth. There's so much shifting and changing going on. I have no clue what's
Right.
going on out there. I don't watch, but I hear enough of,
Right.
and the thing is, I don't feel like people might get a lot of hate mail. I don't know. Uh, I don't follow politics. I don't follow the world events because it's just a reiteration of thousands
Right.
of years of stories. Whatever the current character is and the current name, it doesn't matter. It's the energies there. And so, like you and I and our resonant friends and like minded friends getting together is so, so important right now
Mhm. Right.
because when we get together, we can spend time really feeling what it feels like to feel good and feel safe.
Right.
And then when we're out in the real world, it's easier to flow into these synchronistic events where life starts to unfold in a magical way in front of you because you're following the subtleties of your own inner emotions. And
Right.
that's really the bigger picture here is that, okay, yes, I shut down. I said, no, enough is enough there. And I do that because that's how I flow into the magic of life. That's how humanity flows into the magic of life. And that's how we emerge this new world that is being created. It's by being really, really sensitive to the emotions and saying enough is enough. And I'm not going to be put in a situation that doesn't feel expensive.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one thing that gave me such stunning clarity about going through this again, um, so many years later, was I really saw how I created the whole initial experience of all the trauma of being harassed, of being the ultimate victim,
Mhm.
because my body did not feel safe. No matter how many classes or spiritual things I went to, when I was there with those groups of people, my body felt safe and I could expand like crazy.
Yeah.
But when I got around other people who weren't like that, that was a huge reason why, not the sole reason, but part of the reason why the divorce happened. But then I can see how this body that didn't feel safe in who I was and who I was to be created the whole victim experience of not being safe. If your body doesn't feel safe, you will create an experience of not being safe.
Well, and you have to. That's just physics. You
Right,
absolutely have to. If your body is sending out a vibration of fear,
right,
the resonant response is going to come back to you, and you're
right,
going to get something that validates fear.
right,
I mean, that's just, and it's not woo, it's physics. And so,
right.
if people are having a struggle with this, thoughts create my reality, it's simple physics.
Well, and look at the dogs, right? You could just use the example of someone who's in extreme fear next to a somewhat gnarly dog.
Yeah, yeah,
You're gonna create the experience for yourself.
yeah.
It's
So
just how it works out. But I'm happy to say the wedding experience turned out amazing for me. I mean, it got to the
good.
point where I was so confident in who I was and the ability to witness and know what had created the problem in the first place gave me so much empowerment that I was able to be whoever I wanted on my own for the rest of the time. But it took an awareness, it took a lifting up and saying, okay, what is my body doing? What is the reflection when my body was doing what it was? And oh, I'm creating this.
Hmm.
Okay, well, how can I fix this?
Yeah,
And so you and I both had these similar revisiting of old experiences, and you just said enough. And I said, well, I'm going to do the witness thing and we'll just let this body feel safe.
yeah. And that was such an up leveling of your mastery. It's those grand experiences, the ones that have so many different angles of challenge that you stepped into. Instead of avoiding, you stepped in. You used the observer position. Is so. I think it's one of the most. It's the most important because the whole goal is to not ever feel fear or not ever feel sorrow or anger, but to observe it and let it be what it is instead of getting stuck in the spiral of the story. you know
Right,
just let it go right in the river right past you, and
right,
just start really paying attention to what you're feeling. And then I'd love that you gathered around you a like-minded individual And then you actually embodied courage and that inner knowing on a level that you had never before. You hadn't been in that particular situation, and now you've mastered that. And so I just want to honor that experience in your life.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it felt good to come out of that and know that I made it through happy, because it was really a big, it was, 2 full days that I was with, and of course wanted to be enjoyed because we're celebrating our son's wedding. So it was, a lot of moments together, and I want this to go
Mm.
well because of him. So yeah, it feels good to be on the other side of that and know that I made it through, in a good way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I want to share, I think it would be helpful. What are some of the key things, for so many of you here that are going through trauma, there are some really good tools to use. Because the first thing after you have a traumatic experience of any kind is to do the healing work to release the emotions around it.
Mhm.
And there's many ways you can do that. Moon, what are your favorite ways of
I'm
doing
too simple to make it complex. I It's got to be simple for me. If it's got a lot of steps, I'll forget them. I'll get confused. So going into a simple breath, we have this interesting looking character beast that is connected to our brain that attaches to everything, central nervous system, and it controls everything. And it's right here in the spinal column, right in the center of our body. And when we take a deep breath into our belly, into our diaphragm. So everybody, if you're listening, put your hand over your belly button and notice if you're breathing, does your belly move in and out? Or are you breathing up here? Now, if you're breathing and your belly moves out, that's a nice long massage on your central nervous system. So, taking a 2-stage breath where you're going to breathe deep into your diaphragm, your belly is going to come out. And then the second half of the breath, you're going to breathe into your heart. So, you're going to go, and a nice slow exhale. Now, when you breathe deep into your diaphragm, it actually fills the lower part of your lungs, which we're trained into stress, and we generally will breathe right up here. We carry all of our stress in our shoulders, and so we build up CO2 in the bottom of our lungs, and there's this tension. And so we do a breath like that, it clears out that CO2, and it also does a beautiful energetic massage of our central nervous system. It calms us down, and it's a literal simple signal to the brain that says 3 words: I am safe. The only time a body breathes deep into its diaphragm is when it feels safe. And so you don't have to feel safe to breathe like you're safe. You can breathe like you're safe, and then your body believes you're safe. So you can lead your body through the intention of the mind. So then the mind then feels safe, which can calm, or the body then feels safe, which can calm the mind. So you use this faculty to trick the body into tricking the mind. So you're going to use it's simple. People want to make things so freaking complicated. If you can't do the simple things, you'll never get the hard things. So there's all sorts of things. There's tapping, there's NLP, there's, spiral somatics. There's all sorts of different things that you can do once you get the basic, I can calm myself down in the moment.
right, the
And
moment.
so just start there. Keep it simple.
I think the greatest technique that I've used to help, and there's a couple of them. EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping, has been huge. I've had really good luck with clients, especially sexually abused clients, that have been able to release an experience in a half an hour that they've held for 40 years. And so that's been great for me. And journaling as well. Just write it all out, and it might start out as a whole bunch of swear words, day
Mhm.
one, and then day two, you might go a little deeper. But each time you can go deeper, you're peeling off the layers.
Yeah.
So, and then eventually you'll get to the point, if you can get to the point where you can visualize the whole traumatic experience and not have an emotional signal to it, meaning, oh, whatever, then you've done enough work. You've leveled it, you've healed it, you've forgiven it.
Yeah. And it's a practice of, because we are raised in this constant state of stress, that we're so desensitized to what feeling stressed is. People are like, "Oh, I'm relaxed," and you're looking at them and they're just tight, right? And
Yeah.
you're like, you don't, you have, I'm sorry, you've forgotten what it feels like to be relaxed. And it's honestly true. It's not a judgment.
Right.
So, Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza has a meditation, and you can Google it on YouTube. But in the meditation, he has you go to a negative feeling experience, something that feels icky, and any feeling that is good for you feels expansive. If it feels constrictive, it's not a good feeling. So go into that and then really get intimate with it. I mean, just give it the attention you would give a lover. Where do you feel? What do you feel in your body? Where do you feel it? Does it feel like it's moving? Does it feel like does it have a color? Is there a sound? Is there a texture? Really get intimate with that and spend some time with it and call it by name. And I started doing that. And for me, it was a key foundational skill in getting really, really sensitive to my emotions, because when you're so intimate with that experience, instead of just going, I'm stressed, I'm feared, I hate, I anger, whatever that is, right? You're intimate like a lover with it. And then as that memory starts rising up in your body, or that emotion, you can go, oh, I know the call of that lover. No, thank you. And you can immediately get ahead of it through breath work or tapping or whatever your favorite practice is. But first you have to get really familiar with what a crappy feeling feels like.
Right.
Not only getting familiar with what does a good feeling feel like getting to know both of them very, very well. Getting to know, and don't pick a major trauma. Don't go into a meditation trying to pick a major trauma, because
Right.
that neural pathway fires off so fast. It's not like a little tricycle, it's a Lamborghini, and you can't get out ahead of that. So pick something small,
Right.
and get intimate with that. And so you're just going to baby step that. And so that would be one of my most important keys to tell people, is to really spend some time getting intimate. In the spiritual world, we'd like to bypass negative feelings. Was it only good feelings? What's that quote out there? Only happy thoughts. I don't know. It's such bullshit. We're human. We came here for both. So get to know both. Spend time with all of your humanity, because we are not here to kill the ego. We are not here to stop feeling fear. We are here to integrate it. We're here to become whole, not to to try to ghost our humanity. We're here for that. So really integrating that, you have to be intimate with it, and you have to say, yep, this is mine. Yep, this is mine. I love it. I don't fear it anymore. Thank you very much. I'm gonna alchemize this into neutrality, because I can't go from fear to love. We're going to alchemize it through neutrality, and realize that every bad thing that's ever happened to you in your life happened because on a soul level, you just wanted the freaking experience. I learned that in my near-death experience. When I looked back at all the tragedies in my life, there was no judgment. There was just like, wow, those were some cool experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I kind of went off on it.
No, that's okay. No, yeah. So once you have addressed the immediate trauma, so when these re-triggers or possible opportunities for them to repeat again, I think we've covered a lot of the things to, you can just say enough. When's enough pain enough? I'm done with this.
Change. Just when you realize, oh, I don't feel good. Okay, change.
Yep, I'm
reset.
done.
Whatever the word is, find a word.
Yep.
Find a word, a simple word, and anchor that word to.
Reset. Whatever.
Yeah, reset. To reset. And don't try to go from, oh, I'm feeling fear, to, oh, I'm feeling joy, because that's a chasm.
Yeah.
Everything of vibration is in increments. So think of something, do something that makes you feel just a little bit better. And that's the goal. Can I feel just a little bit better in this moment than I did in the last moment? Can this day be a little bit better than yesterday? And the next time that I get slapped in the face with something that triggers all sorts of trauma in my body, can I just observe it and say enough is enough
Just be the
and
witness.
stop telling the story? And don't beat myself up, and don't come home and think, I thought I'd done all the trauma work and now no, I had done the trauma work, and that's why I was able to put an end to it.
Yes, that's why you were in your mastery the last time around, right?
Yeah.
That was graduation day. We
Yeah.
both had graduation days.
Yes, and I'll have 1,000 more.
Exactly.
I will, because life is
Yeah.
life, right? Life is life.
As long as we have a physical body, we're going to keep expanding if we choose to. And so there's always going to be another graduation if we keep saying yes.
Yes, because there is no there to get to. There's nothing
Right.
to graduate to or from.
Right.
There's these graduation steps, and it's a never-ending process that we crave. You know, our body craves what we feed it, and we feed ourselves experiences, and we're here to experience it all. And now when we do it consciously, we can start experiencing better feeling experiences more frequently.
Well, I just picked a quick card for us all because it's
Yay!
time for us to go. But I picked Archangel Raphael.
Hmm.
And let me see. Archangel, I opened right to it. Archangel 2 Raphael, close your eyes and receive the radiance of emerald rays surrounding you. Gather this energy into your heart and know beyond all doubt that all is healed now.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reassurance Archangel Raphael invites you to accept. Healing occurs in many realms beyond the physical, and this can certainly be the moment at hand. Expand your paradigm into the fullness of a fully healed life experience. Let this gift warm your heart as it expands throughout your entire body and beyond. Then, claiming your joyful clarity, radiate to all you meet with trust in your divine mastery presence.
Beautiful.
So, everyone, we're all healed today, anyways. Thanks, Moon. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, and I am glad that all of you who are watching or listening are taking some time to spend some moments with us. I'm grateful.